Everybody to College Road Trip. I'm Barry Nelson along with Ryan Thies. We're here to bring you anything and everything in the world of college sports. Tonight it's going to be college basketball bracketology. It is on. It is our week. It's championship week. We are set. We're going to be talking a lot of college basketball. Talk about the NFL scouting combine, a little college hockey, especially women's college hockey, because that's near and dear to our hearts. And then we're going to have our Road Rage segment at the end, and then we're going to slow it down a little bit and have a little feel-good story. But we do welcome your comments and your feedback, any questions you might have, anything that you want to talk about. Feel free to comment on Facebook Live. We are running live on Facebook, so feel free to comment below. Check out our new website, BruceSportsNet.com. That is an awesome site, really user-friendly. Get to know your host, get to know the shows, the times, the programming schedules, everything.
There's a good picture of you on there, isn't there, huh?
Yeah, real good. I know Baxter had to go deep into the archives to find that one, but I just want to take this moment to tell my wife happy anniversary. We celebrated last night. It's 2 years yesterday, so we went
Congratulations.
Thank you. We went out to dinner and had a good time, and I don't know, we went to a place that you might have heard of. It's called Arby's. I don't know if you ever heard of that place, but I told my wife, I said, it's our anniversary. Place. You get that medium-sized fry. It's perfect. No, we went to a really nice place. Love you, honey. Thank you very much for a wonderful 2 years. So anyway, getting back to college sports. Conference tournaments are underway. We got a lot of teams that have already punched their ticket. Atlantic Sun Conference, Florida Gulf Coast. Big South, you have Winthrop. A lot of these teams you're not even going to know. Colonial Athletic Association, my favorite, the Seahawks of the UNC Wilmington.
There you go.
Loved UNC Wilmington when I lived in North Carolina. And then, of course, the Horizon League, which we'll talk a little bit about with Christian Heimall as he comes on next segment.
So close. Panthers were so close.
11-24, they finished their season. Could you imagine a 23 loss team in the NCAA
regular
tournament?
Season wins in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, exactly.
We almost had it.
Yeah, and it was, oh man, I was just so looking forward to that because you knew they would have been the darling of that of the NCAA tournament. They would have been the absolute darling. Everybody would have been like, oh, let's watch them. 11 wins. But I tell you, LaVall Jordan's really got his program up and running over at UW-Milwaukee. Of course, a fan favorite here because we are located in Milwaukee. Northern Kentucky, they beat Milwaukee last night. They're making their first trip in the NCAA tournament.
And as many chances as well, too. This is their first time that they're actually eligible for postseason play.
Absolutely, and
one for one.
And then you have the MAC, not the
Mid-American,
not the Mid-American, but
football.
It's the Metro Atlantic.
Athletic Conference.
Athletic Conference.
That is correct.
Having a little bit of a brain fart. It's been a long day. Missouri Valley, we'll be talking about that with Christian Heimall as well. Wichita State was
Woo shock.
They're mostly known for baseball, but now their basketball program's really up and coming. In the Northeast, you have Mount St. Mary's, the Ohio Valley, Jacksonville State making their first trip. In the Southern Conference, East Tennessee State University. What's their
Buccaneers?
The Buccaneers. Okay. Every time I need a logo or I need a mascot, I just got to ask Ryan because he knows everything. The Summit Conference, South Dakota State, West Coast Conference, of course. Do you say Gonzaga or Gonzaga? Gonzaga. Okay. Because a lot of people say it different. I say Gonzaga. I don't think it's going to be.
I mean, it's the Zags.
It's the
not
Zags.
The Zogs.
It could be if you're very hoity-toity and you say Zogs.
I don't think Spokane is very hoity-toity.
No, I don't think so either. In the Patriot League tonight, you're going to have another team punching their ticket, Bucknell and Lehigh. So
I just love seeing these small schools punch their ticket.
Absolutely.
It's the biggest game of the year. They've great celebration. It's like them winning their own national tournament right there.
And you saw, I don't know if you saw the video of Mount St. Mary's last night. I mean, they were on the floor. They were
crying.
They were pretending like it was their NCAA championship. I mean, for some of these teams to just make it and to just be there, and it's a thrill of a lifetime because like you said, not all teams are going to be able to make it.
It's just an amazing thing to see, the heart that these players, because not a lot of them are going to go to the NBA, not even overseas to play professionally. This is it for them, and this is really their crowning achievement is to make the NCAA tournament. They can hang that banner in their small gym over there, and they can bring that conference tournament trophy back home to their campus, and for at least a week before they get bounced by a blue blood, they're on the top of the world.
Absolutely. Aaron says he's ready for March Madness. So are we. It is March Madness.
It is,
It's
yeah,
championship week. I akin this to my wife. She loves the Oscars. I said, honey, Selection Sunday this Sunday is my Oscars, so I don't want to be bothered. So that's I love Selection Sunday, even though it's a couple of hours, but it's going to be fun. But speaking of mid majors, let's bring him on right away. Christian Heimall is on the line with us. He is the play-by-play voice of the Manhattan Jaspers out of the MAC. The Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. So let's welcome Christian. Christian, welcome to College Road Trip. Good to have you.
Good to be with you guys.
All right. You said you're traveling to the Midwest, and I hope it's to check out some NCAA tournament games.
Listen, if there's college basketball being played, I'm on the way. So, it's best time of the year. You got small schools punching tickets. You got big schools trying to secure a number one seed come Selection Sunday. This is one of my favorite times of the year.
Now, being out of the MAC, I know, kind of trolling your Twitter page, you were talking about the Iona-Siena game. What did you think about that game? I mean, it went into overtime. It was just an unbelievable game if people didn't get a chance to see it. What did you think of that game and how it turned out?
I thought it was tremendous from a representation standpoint for the MAC. Obviously, a lot of us were rooting for Monmouth just to get to the NCAAs after last year missing out on the at-large bid. But Siena, I tweeted this right after the game. The MAC this year had so many tremendous seniors, and Siena had 4 of them. You've got a guy in Brett Bisping who may have been the most underappreciated player in the MAC over the last couple of years. A guy in Javion Oganyemi, Levon Long, Marquise Wright, and then this kid Nico Claret, who just 4 days before the championship game, he rolls his ankle. Who knows if he's going to play the tournament? He has 27 in the second half to lead them to a semifinal win over Monmouth. And then you got Iona, who, Iona and Manhattan are massive rivals. So there's no love lost between the Jaspers and the Gales, but even with that rivalry, you have to respect what Tim Cluse, the head coach of Iona, has done. 8 consecutive 20-win seasons, 5 straight championship game appearances, 3 titles, including back-to-back these 2 years. So I thought it was a fun game. I was amazed that Marquise Wright did not take the shot to try to tie it late in overtime, but that's how it goes, man. And that's why mid-major basketball is so much fun. The conference tournaments at the mid-major level, to me, are almost better than the entire NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I can back you on that one, Christian. I love to see these small schools that people often overlook throughout the regular season, see them have amazing games in their conference tournament and celebrate very hard as some of these teams do. Now, you're going to the Midwest right now, so let's talk about the Missouri Valley Conference. Wichita State, they won. They're in already. Greg Marshall has done a great job in the last 5 or 6 years with that program. But I want to ask you about Illinois State. A lot of people have been calling for them to get in an at-large bid to the tournament. They didn't have a very strong closing argument losing to Wichita State in that Missouri Valley championship game. Do you think Redbirds get in?
It's weird because the selection committee is so hot and cold when it comes to these mid-major leagues and getting an at-large bid. Go back to 6 years ago in the MAC, Iona got bounced to the semifinals. They were the regular season champs, bounced to the semifinals, 25-win season, and they got in that large bid. And they almost beat BYU in the first round. And then last year, Monmouth, regular season champs, they had road wins at UCLA, at USC. They don't get the at-large bid. Illinois State, though, I think, is from just looking at it, Illinois State gets an at-large, in my opinion, just because 12 road wins. The committee always puts it on these mid-majors. If you're going to make it as an at-large, go on the road and win. 12 road wins, including one against Wichita State. Yeah, they're 2-4 against the top 100, but their RPI is high. I think it's in the top 30. But the number one seed going into the conference tournament, the win over Wichita State in the regular season helps. Wichita State was going in no matter what. They're ranked 20th in the country. You know they're going to get in. So, truth, and maybe it's me hoping because I come from the mid-major level. I really want to see Illinois State get in. I think they deserve to get in because you look at what their coach has done. You look at a kid like Perry Ellis. You want to see him continue to play basketball on that level. I'm rooting hard for Illinois State to get in. I think they do 27 wins, 12 on the road. I mean, when you have almost 50% of your wins away from home, it's hard to say no to that.
Talking with Christian Heimall, the play-by-play voice of the Manhattan Jaspers out of the MAC. Christian, going to stay in the Midwest here, and last night it was Northern Kentucky against UW-Milwaukee, of course, a team that is near and dear to our heart because we are in the Milwaukee area. How much were you rooting for Milwaukee, and how excited are you that Northern Kentucky in their first year of eligibility gets in the tournament?
This may have been, and I don't know why this didn't get more fanfare. Look at this championship game. You got the number 10 seed, 4 conference wins in Milwaukee in the championship game, and then you've got a team in Northern Kentucky who in their first year of eligibility, just 5 years ago they were a Division II power, and they're in their first year of eligibility, and they go out and they win it. I mean, that tournament was a lot of fun to watch in general. When you watch Valpo, you watch Oakland go down, you watch those other teams just fall by the wayside to these two squads. It made for such an exciting. You didn't want either of those two teams to lose. I was rooting for Milwaukee just because I thought it would have been amazing to see in the first round of the NCAA tournament a team with 4 conference wins. That would have been tremendous just to look at it, sit there and go, how did this happen? But hats off to what Northern Kentucky did. They got a kid that I love in Drew McDonald, who I think he had something like 16 points and 9 rebounds a game during the tournament. A lot of fun to watch. They're going to be interesting. Look, they're probably going to get Kentucky or Louisville in the first round. So enjoy it while you have it. Yeah. But this is a very fun. It was a fun game to watch last night, and I was just rooting for more basketball to see from those two teams.
Yeah. Now let's go over to the West Coast Conference now. Gonzaga. Can you even call them a mid-major right now where they're at? They're number 1 for a little bit before they got dethroned by BYU. Kind of took care of business against St. Mary's last night. How far do you legitimately think that Gonzaga is going to go in this NCAA tournament?
It's so tough to tell because, I mean, you look at what they've done under Coach Few and you look at what they've done the last 2 decades, and they haven't been able to get over that hump. The furthest they've gotten is an Elite Eight. Do they have what it takes? Do they have the composition to be able to get to the Final Four? I think so. You look at guys like Williams-Goss. You look at guys like Karnowski and Collins, who last night I thought the difference in the game was Collins' offensive rebound off of Williams-Goss missed free throw, and then he gets the lay-in, uncontested. That, to me, those are the type of plays that championship caliber teams make, depending on the draw. That's the biggest thing. Depending on where they get placed, who is in their region, and how things fold out. The NCAA tournament is all about matchups. It doesn't matter if it's, look at, was it Duke Winthrop a couple of years ago? Yep. That's just a bad matchup for Duke or, any other of those schools that you're not expecting them to win, and then they just, for whatever reason, match up well against the blue blood of college basketball. So it's interesting to see. I am pulling for Gonzaga. I think last night they locked up a number 1 seed, even though I do think that North Carolina, Villanova, Kansas, and then it's hard pressed for me not to have Oregon or UCLA up there as a number 1 seed instead of Gonzaga, but you have to give them props for what they've done the entire season. I could see them going to the Final Four. I could see them losing in the round of 32. I mean, it's really dependent on where the draw is. When we know on Sunday night where they're playing, who they're playing, I think that'll be able to really tell you. But they've got the makeup. They've got 3 very talented guys, and they've got the makeup for a team that could make the Final Four. But ultimately, are they going to be able to get over that hump, that mental hump of we've never gotten that far? Can we finally do it?
One last question for you, Christian, before we let you go. Once again, talking to Christian Heimall, the play-by-play voice of the Manhattan Jaspers out of the MAC conference. In the West Coast Conference, we saw last night St. Mary's actually make a good comeback in that second half. They were down by 21 at the half, and they made a valiant effort. Do you see St. Mary's going to a Sweet 16? They're ranked 19th in the country right now. Do you see them going any further than maybe a Sweet 16? Do you see them maybe getting to an Elite 8?
They've got a chance at a potentially a 5 seed. They're probably going to be in that 6-7 seed range. So I think they can. I mean, listen, I love Jock Landale, and you watch him last night in that game. If he's able to stay on the court, who knows how big that St. Mary's run actually becomes.
Right.
And if they're able to come back, and if you come back from down 21 and you take a lead in a championship game, I don't want to try to, look back in the crystal ball or whatever it is, but if they had taken a lead in that game, I think St. Mary's goes on and wins that game. Because when you're down 21 at halftime, it's almost impossible to get up out of the locker room and do that. But I love Landale. Joe Rehan, Manhattan went out to St. Mary's last year to open up the season. I got a chance to watch them in person, and they are just long, athletic. They play good defense, and they shoot the three very well. Randy Bennett does a tremendous job. I can see them being a Sweet 16 team. I don't know if they get any further than that, just because when you start looking at Sweet 16 to the Elite 8, you're facing potentially Villanova, Kansas. Are you facing whoever the winner of the ACC tournament is? Between whether it be Louisville, Duke, North Carolina, you play Kentucky. I mean, there's so many ifs with a seed like they're going to get, possibly anywhere from a 5 to a 7. But I see them. They can make the Sweet 16, most definitely. I don't know if they go any further than that, though.
Christian Heimall, the play-by-play voice of the Manhattan Jaspers, thank you so much. A very good insight. Love talking mid-majors, and we will definitely have you on again as the tournament goes along and as we see Cinderella put that glass slipper on. Thanks a lot for joining us, Christian.
Guys, it's like I said, the best time of the year. Thanks for having me.
No problem. There's Christian Heimall from the Manhattan Jaspers of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. He joins us via the phone. He is traveling, so he wanted to do video, but he couldn't do it. But we talked about the mid-majors. Now let's get to our predictions for the major conference tournaments, which are happening all weekend long. The ACC, first of all, we are both in agreement. It's going to be North Carolina. I mean, they beat Duke twice. Duke doesn't really present too much of a challenge for him. Justin Jackson is just a tremendous player. And I don't like Grayson Allen. I really don't. I couldn't pick Duke in my right mind. Even if Duke was the better team, I couldn't pick Duke because Grayson Allen, to me, is just dirty.
He got another technical foul today.
Today?
Yeah,
no,
today.
I didn't. No. I saw the elbow to the face the other night, but I didn't see today.
He got one today. Yeah.
Oh, Grayson Allen.
The ACC tournament was so hard to pick. I know it doesn't seem like it because we were in agreement.
Right.
But it's almost harder to win the ACC than it is to make the Final Four, some people have been saying. I kind of back that.
Yeah, and one of the teams in the ACC that we mentioned last week, you had mentioned was in the tournament was Syracuse, and they got beat today by Miami. So does that change your outlook on
for sure.
Syracuse?
Yeah, I thought they'd win at least one game in the ACC tournament. They'd be in. They didn't do that. Jim Boeheim had some comments after the game that were pretty funny about it being in New York. And I just think all that kind of combined isn't going to get them into the tournament. And it's tough to see, but now it's only going to be 9 teams for the ACC instead of 10 this time. And that's still a lot. And ACC is just absolutely stacked as a conference. And that's what makes this one the most difficult. We start off with the hardest one, to be honest.
Absolutely. But one of the I don't even know if this is an easy one, the Big East. Who do you have in the Big East? You wrote down one thing. You better stick with it.
No, I wrote down Butler. I saw Villanova in person. Wasn't that impressed. They didn't hold on to a lead that they had against Marquette here in Milwaukee. I don't feel like they're the same team as they were last year. Butler's kind of got some momentum. Providence has more momentum, but they aren't as talented as Butler is right now. I think Butler just kind of surprises a little bit of people and wins the Big East. You're going with the easy pick.
Well, it's not an easy pick because I'm I actually like Jay Wright. When I was a coach, I followed his offensive scheme, and it worked for me. And I like Jay Wright. I think he's got his team playing hard. It's not necessarily an easy pick because I was thinking Butler as well, but you got to believe that Villanova is going to pick it up. They are a legitimate number one seed. I think a lot of people are picking Jay Wright and the Villanova Wildcats as a number one seed overall. So we'll just wait and see about that. But I think Butler and Villanova will probably be in the championship game. At least we hope so. Mm-hmm. Now the Big Ten, our country.
Yeah,
I was surprised at this pick. Actually, you had one pick and then you switched it.
I misread it and I put down 2 Big Ten teams on this list.
One in the Big 12.
yeah, I put one in the Big 12. So I messed up. Finally got to think about it, and I'm going to go with Maryland. Melo Trimble, he's still on the team. He's still good. That is not an argument. But people have kind of been overlooking Maryland, an easier schedule this year. Yeah. Not making as many waves as they did last year when they thought they were a national title contender. That didn't really work out. But I think the Big Ten as a whole is kind of weaker this year. Wisconsin is definitely on the downslope right now. Michigan State isn't what they used to be. You got teams like Iowa is still a very good team that could compete for this too.
If you have comments, if you have your picks, please, by all means, comment on Facebook.
I'm ready to debate.
Yeah, let's argue. So my pick, of course, I have to go with the hometown. My dad went to Wisconsin. I believe that Wisconsin righted the ship against Minnesota. Minnesota was coming in one of the hottest teams in the country. They have the biggest turnaround in the country. I honestly think that Wisconsin finally found it. Now, everybody's going to say, well, it was senior day and it was at Wisconsin and stuff like that, but seriously, on a neutral court, and let's just say Wisconsin gets a 6 or a 7, or gets a 5 or a 6 seed, and they play here in Milwaukee. You want to tell me that they're not going to win those 2 games here in Milwaukee and make it to another Sweet 16? That's pretty much a guarantee, I think. But you never know. I think Wisconsin has the opportunity to go into this Big Ten tournament and really make some noise and really prove the pundits right who picked them at the beginning of the season. Now, Big 12, that's easy. That's your neck of the woods, too, and that was it. That one was a little easier.
It's easier. It's not fun, but KU.
But they also have something going against them, too.
Yeah, Josh Jackson is going to be suspended for their first game. It's going to be either against TCU or Oklahoma.
Oh, no, TCU.
The bottom part of the conference. But he backed into a parked car, I should say. No one was there, not someone, a car. And this happened about a month ago, and he didn't tell anyone. He got some citations for it, and he got his court date to appear on March 27th. And, March 27th, that's tournament time.
That is tournament time.
Especially for a team like Kansas.
It's the second week of the tournament.
So he waited until this past Monday to tell his head coach, Bill Self. Mr. Self didn't take too kindly of that, and he's going to be suspended. And as a whole, KU's kind of run into the Lawrence Police Department a lot this year with Carlton Bragg and then the other players who witnessed a horrible, horrible crime in their dorm. Just them being in the news with LPD hasn't been the best of looks, but have to admit, Bill Self has done a great job of handling this whole the situations this year.
Still gets the job done. In the SEC, I have Kentucky. That was an easy pick for me. I've watched Kentucky a couple times, and I think they're legit. Now, you're going with the sexy pick.
Yeah, I'm going with Florida. I'm going with the hot team right now. I really think they can make some noise in the NCAA tournament. They did lose to Vanderbilt this past Saturday, so that kind of hurt. But I mean, they were coasting into it. Vandy still had a lot to prove. They were a bubble team. I think they got in because of that win against Florida. But I think Florida still has a good group of kids, good coach. They're going to kind of surprise some people.
And then we take a look at the Pac-12. Who'd you have in the Pac-12 to finish things off with talking college basketball?
Arizona. It's kind of a tough pick against UCLA. I know Oregon's the number 1 seed, but I don't think they are the true number 1 seed this season. They kind of are overrated as far as basketball. They haven't proven anything as a basketball team yet. I think UCLA has the best chance to dethrone U of A here. Of course, Lonzo Ball. We've discussed that before, but they've got good size. They can shoot the ball. U of A can, and I think they're going to win the Pac-12 tournament. And it's hard in tournament time. You're going just playing 3 games in about 4 days, all back-to-back. They're in Las Vegas, neutral site, and I just think that's going to mess UCLA a little bit up. And Arizona, they're a proven team in the Pac-12 championship.
Well, and I don't even like Lonzo Ball. I mean, I like him for who he is. I don't like his father.
You don't like his dad.
We've made that perfectly clear last
He's
week
an
on the road
extension
rage.
of his dad.
Exactly. I like Bryce Alford. Bryce Alford is Steve Alford's son. I'm all over Bryce Alford. He's a senior. He's the 3rd all-time leading scorer in UCLA history. He's got a great shot. He's got good leadership. I really think he's got what it takes to lead this UCLA team to a Final Four. Lonzo Ball obviously is going to help, but I'm looking to Bryce Alford and the UCLA Bruins to take the Pac-12.
Don't forget TJ Leaf, too. He's very good.
TJ Leaf
player
is pretty good.
for
No
UCLA.
relation to Ryan Leaf, though.
No.
Thank God.
Yeah,
Speaking of
good.
Ryan Leaf, he was in the NFL at one point. He participated in the scouting combine, and so did the rest of the NFL projected picks this week as we transition over. The NFL scouting combine happened in Indianapolis this week. And for a lot of people, it was just players there to show off their abilities. And you have a lot of great stories coming out of this, but to me, and I'm going to get to this in my Road Rage segment, I don't really see the need for an NFL combine. But if you take a look at John Ross, he ran a 4.22 40, which is the fastest ever. You take a look at guys like Isaac Asiata, who we're going to see right here, repping out 35 bench presses of 225 pounds. I mean, it's kind of like a glorified practice.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen anyone score a touchdown
bench pressing 225,
pressing anything or running without pads. So I mean, it's a good kind of basis to see how athletic they are, how strong they are, but it's not always the most athletic. It's not always the strongest people. Most of the time it is, but not always are they the best players.
Right, and you take a look at some of the names like Isaac Asiata, who nobody really knew about. He's an offensive lineman from Utah. Carl Lawson, who's a defensive lineman from Auburn. They each had 35 reps. But you take a look at some of the names that everybody is looking at. Leonard Fournette, 4.51 40. Christian McCaffrey, 4.48 40. And how many bench reps did he do?
10, which was kind of towards the bottom for running backs.
And I was watching ESPN, and Adam Schefter did 10. And that was it. I mean, Adam Schefter is in his 40s.
Is it a big surprise that Christian McCaffrey isn't the strongest running back out there?
No, I guess not.
It's expected, and I mean, he needs to be strong in his legs, not really his arm. He just needs to run fast, run quick.
Then let's get a squat drill. You know, let's have these kids bust out some squats. You know, and figure out how much they can actually squat. But I mean, you take a look at Dalvin Cook. He had 22 reps of 4.49. He really impressed. And you take a look at Deshaun Watson and Mitch Trubisky, the two top quarterbacks, 4.66, 4.67 in the 40. I love going to NFL.com, and I like checking out these scouting reports. Because if you take a look at the scouting report, they actually tell you who these guys are like. So, like Leonard Fournette, if you go to NFL.com and you check out his scouting report, his NFL draft scouting report, NFL comparison, who do you think it is? NFL comparison. He ran a 4.5 40. He's 6 foot, 240 pounds. He's got a 31 and 5/8 inch arm length. What do you think? Who do you think he's compared to? Somebody back in the day. It's probably before you were even born. But he's.
Then I have no guess. I'm not going to get it right.
But you still know the name. It's Bo Jackson.
Okay. Yep.
He is being compared to Bo Jackson. I mean, that is one heck of a comparison.
That's tough to do. That's just unfair to him because then he's got to live up to Bo Jackson's
legacy. Exactly. I mean,
I would be upset if I was compared to Bo Jackson because I'm not Bo Jackson.
Right, but it'd be kind of nice to be compared to him. You take a look at a guy like Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin Cook, as we said, ran a 4.49 40, repped out 22 in the bench press. He's compared to Edgerrin James. And it's funny to see these comparisons and then to see how they do compare to these players that they're compared to, how they come out. And you would think that a guy like Deshaun Watson, running quarterback, really agile, really mobile, who would he most likely be compared to?
Vince Young.
Vince, okay. I was thinking somebody that's actually in the NFL right now. Who'd you say?
You thinking Russell Wilson?
I'm thinking either Russell Wilson or like a Cam Newton. Now, he's not as big as Cam, obviously, but he, looks like Cam. He's 6'2", 221. He's a running quarterback. And they compare him actually to Marcus Mariota, which, Marcus Mariota,
That's more of a fair
I think of him
comparison.
as more of a pocket quarterback, and I think Deshaun Foster is more of a running quarterback. Or, I'm sorry, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. There you go.
Deshaun Foster. Thinking back to my old fantasy football days. But I mean, you take a look at some of these. You take a look at some of these comparisons, and I just don't see it. And like I said, I'll get into it in my road rage segment. But one story that did come out of the NFL Combine: Reuben Foster. Reuben Foster is considered the top inside linebacking prospect out of the University of Alabama. He had a little incident at a medical facility. We don't know. There's some people saying it's a nurse, some people saying it's a doctor, but he got into kind of a pushing or shoving match with a hospital attendant. He was sent home. He couldn't do anything in the combine, and people are saying this is going to hurt his draft status.
Yeah. Can I share the story that I at least heard?
Absolutely.
Of what
Go ahead.
happened?
Yeah.
So they go to a hospital to get their full physical, get checked out, see how they are, just on a very biological health-wise. But you go to a hospital. What do you think of when you go to the hospital? You wait.
Needles.
Well, that too. But you wait a lot.
Right.
And that's just going
waiting rooms, yeah.
Going to the hospital. And so he was waiting for a little bit, waiting his turn in line behind other NFL prospects. He went to the University of Alabama. He's a top prospect, people ahead of him, maybe not as big. He got impatient, talked to this medical aide, and was a little ticked off that he wasn't ahead of the line. And he pulled the "Do you know who I am" card.
Gee, no.
The aide who's been working with NFL prospects this entire day has none of it. Doesn't want any part of it, and says, you're going to wait in line like the rest of these NFL prospects. And he took exception to that, pushed them, and it was all history from there.
Yeah, and he did have interviews with 16 teams the next day.
Had.
But I will say this now, as much as this was probably forced on him, he did send an apology email to all 16 teams that he was supposed to meet with and he was supposed to interview with, and they took that as I guess as amends to, hey, thanks for, standing us up and getting kicked out of the NFL Combine. I just don't know. But who are you most impressed with, and why? Who are you most impressed with?
And you can call me a bit of a homer here, but
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Jordan Willis, he went to Kansas State University, great defensive, and he beat all of the combine, I guess, stats, we can call them, that Jadeveon Clowney had not too long ago.
Jadeveon Clowney, up until 2 years ago, was considered a bust, too. Just to let you know.
A little, but not his combine. His combine was great numbers. Yeah. He is a freakish college athlete, and that's what Jordan Willis has as well. Let's see. What he had, I have these notes here somewhere. There we go. The big question he had was how fast he can move side to side, his lateral movement. That improved the three-cone time, 6.85. That would have been 18th among wide receivers. He is a defensive end. He got a 4.53 40-yard dash, sixth best in that position since 2006, tied Jadeveon Clowney. And also, he had a pretty good Senior Bowl. He was the most outstanding player. I think that's a good award that he got.
Oh, absolutely.
And so he's definitely on fire going into this NFL draft.
Absolutely. And I was, the number one pick projected is supposed to be Myles Garrett, a defensive end out of Texas A&M, and he impressed. I mean, he's 6'4", 272. He ran a 4.6 40. He had 33 reps in the bench, a 41-inch vertical, 128-inch broad jump, and he's being compared to Julius Peppers. Now, people around here would say that's pretty good, and people in Carolina would say that's pretty good. Julius Peppers is a surefire Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer in my mind, and for Myles Garrett to be compared to him and do what he did, he's going to do well on the Cleveland Browns because we all know that's where he's going to go.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the Facebook comments. We got Baxter here. Does this hurt his draft stock? I think he's talking about Mr. Do You Know Who I Am?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Definitely.
I think this does hurt Reuben Foster's draft stock. Absolutely. Because people are going to say, well, he's got a hot temper, but you never know. A guy like Jerry Jones might say, hey, he's got a hot temper. He's all for us. He's all in. So let's go up and get him and let's trade up. Now, guys like Al Davis, the late Al Davis, and Jerry Jones, they're just so in love with these combine guys and these stories and stuff like that. I honestly think Jerry Jones would be one of those guys that would move up in the early second round to take this guy. And who knows, maybe he won't even be there, but somebody will take a flyer on him and just say, hey, he's good enough talent-wise where this isn't going to affect him too much. I think it will affect him a few spots and cost him a couple $1 million.
Cardinals did that with Tyrann Mathieu.
Right.
That turned out.
That did turn out.
They were pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad for them. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with Reuben Foster. But I want to switch gears here, and we call this segment Changing Gears, to college hockey. College hockey doesn't get a whole lot of pub, and especially women's hockey, because women's hockey is pretty much brand new. Women's hockey just started at the college level, at the D1 college level in 2001. And it has been fascinating to see what these women can do on the ice because, honestly, the hockey players are considered tough as nails, and these women are considered tough as nails as well. So it's just going to be it's just amazing to watch. And, of course, the top two women's teams, Wisconsin and Minnesota Duluth, they have won 9 titles between them since 2001, and Minnesota has won it 6 times in the last 13 years. You take a look at the brackets. Wisconsin is facing Robert Morris in a couple days. Boston College, the number 4 seed. Clarkson, who's also won it, they are the number 2 seed. Minnesota and Minnesota Duluth are going to be playing each other in the quarterfinal round. So one of those 2 teams will get knocked out. So a favorite, one of the 3 dominant teams will get knocked out. But I mean, Wisconsin, Mark Johnson has just been tremendous for this program, and it has been a staple in that Frozen Four for so long. And one of their goalkeepers, their actual main goalkeeper, Anne-Renee Desbiens, I want to say it's Desbiens because she's from Quebec, but she's up for the goaltender of the year, and she's pitched 14 shutouts this year out of 29 wins. They're 29-2-4. That's amazing for any hockey team, for any team.
Yeah, just any sport.
Absolutely.
And they're fresh off the WCHA final face-off victory. They got to take some hardware home. They beat North Dakota 2-1, and UMD, Minnesota Duluth, they beat them 4-1 in that final game, the 3 seed in the national tournament. They beat by 3 goals.
Yeah, and it's, for as much as you may not be a fan of college hockey, go out and watch some women's college hockey because it is amazing the agility, the toughness that these women have out on the ice. It does rival the men at times, and it's really something to watch. But if you take a look at the men as we transition over to the men's D1 college hockey, their selection show is coming up on the 19th. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with them. But we see Denver, the number 1 seed, 43 first place votes, and they're obviously the top seed with Harvard right behind them. You have no comment whatsoever.
Not yet, no.
As we take a look, we'll take a look at some comments on Facebook. Please, by all means, send your comments along to Facebook. Max Baker. Max says, Joe Flacco is elite. Would the Coyotes win the Women's Collegiate Hockey Championship? Yeah, probably.
If they had a team, they don't have a team.
They don't have a team anymore. Of course, somebody named Chris, who I know is
so you're fuzzy. You're fuzzy.
That was my grade school nickname. Don't ever bring that up again. Thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate that so much. But men's college hockey, we have Denver, Harvard, and being from Wisconsin, I hate to be the homer here, but the last 2 years they've won 12 games. This year they've won 18 under new coach Tony Granato. They are ranked 16th in the nation. They are going to make the NCAA tournament. Just a tremendous program. It's amazing in any sport, in college or pro, what a new face of a franchise can do.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a spark to get some people too. I know Wisconsin is always in that conversation of historical college hockey programs. Last 2 years, they've kind of been irrelevant with those 12-win seasons. Now they're getting back into the tournament. They may not win it all, but they're back in, and that's step one out of getting a new coach and everything. And they're definitely on the right track to get back to a Frozen Four.
Absolutely, they are, and it's going to be interesting to see. I love going to men's Division I college hockey. I have gone to see Wisconsin. Obviously, my dad was a Wisconsin Badger alum, and he took me to some games at the old Dane County Coliseum, and that was a riot. And I love going to see them at the Kohl Center. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them.
The only college hockey I've been to in person is Arizona State, believe it or not. Brand new
Arizona
D1 program.
State.
Yeah, did you know they have D1
I did not know they had D1 hockey at Arizona
they're in
State.
the transition period. They hosted a tournament
Is
last
that transition
year.
period meaning that they're actually waiting for the ice to freeze, or what does that mean?
They have an NHL team.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. But I went to a tournament between ASU, UConn, Michigan Tech, and Yale. So I got to see decent teams there, and Glendale is where the arena is at. So, but it's good to see the expansion of college hockey going out west. I mean, that's the furthest most west NCAA Division I hockey team there is. That could expand into California. I know the LA area is getting big into hockey now. My brother actually plays a lot of inline hockey in tournaments in Irvine area. The Ducks have done a good job of development out there. So I think college hockey is going to get more on the map in these next upcoming years.
Okay. Well, I have a question for you, and so does Max. How much do you like hot dogs?
I love hot dogs. Absolutely love them.
Nothing like. Where is your favorite place? Where's your favorite venue to get a hot dog or a brat? I guess
like restaurant or like
no,
sporting
like
venue?
stadium, like sporting, like sports stadium.
Probably Wrigley Field because I love a legit Chicago hot dog with all the toppings.
You had to bring up Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Cubs fan. I've been to Wrigley a couple times.
I'm not a Cubs fan. I'm a Wrigley Field fan. If you're a baseball fan, you gotta like Wrigley Field.
True. I've been to. I have season tickets to the Packers, so I could say Lambeau Field, but I'm not going to. I used to live in Los Angeles, where your brother is now residing, and to be honest with you, the Dodger dog. The Dodger dog is classic.
I was unimpressed.
Did you have a foot-long Dodger dog?
Foot-long, definitely.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, I was impressed.
I
with the
also
Dodger
hate the Dodgers with every fiber.
I was there to see him against the Brewers, and I actually caught a foul ball off of a
Nice.
Milwaukee Brewer, so I was pretty happy about that. But anyway, I just wanted to find out, because Max was wondering, too, what your favorite hot dog was.
I mean, Max, he was the play-by-play voice for the Madison Mallards this past summer, where I worked with him. And we kind of had a competition who was going to lead the Northwoods League in hot dog consumption, and I ultimately won.
Did you actually have a tally of how many you consumed?
Didn't need it. Didn't need it.
Was it just in one day, or was it over the course of the season?
The course of the season.
Okay, I gotcha. So we have that. We welcome your comments, and coming to Facebook, we want you to share anything that you might have. Also, check out our website at brucesportsnet.com. Anything that you want to know, just feel free to comment, share. We'll be happy to get you on here if your comments will.
You can even say something about hot dogs, and we'll get you on.
Yeah, you can even call me by my 8th grade nickname, and we will get you on. Thanks, Chris. But turning to our final segment, as we move into towards the 6 o'clock hour here, Central Standard Time, our Road Rage segment. I know we got a lot of good comments on these last week. Unfortunately, we weren't able to share them, but it was just a great job by you and by a lot of people that liked our Road Rage segment. So I am going to let you go and do your Road Rage segment.
We're gonna
and
lead off here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you lead off.
All right, well, we opened the show talking about mid-major conference tournaments, the excitement level. I know UWM, they were the 10 seed, won 4 conference games, 8 games overall in the regular season, and they were 1 win away from the NCAA tournament. Now, how does that work? It works because of championship week. Don't know if you've heard about it. It's all over ESPN this week. It is the second best week of the year outside of the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament. But there's a lot of excitement, a lot of unpredictability, especially early in the weeks when you got these mid-major tournaments talking about Florida Gulf Coast, Winthrop, UNC Greensboro, all those different teams out there. And you don't get to hear about them in the beginning of the year. I like to follow the mid-majors, but not everyone else does. They get the number one ESPN slot on there. But the number one thing that people say against these conference tournaments is that it ruins the entire regular season for these mid-major teams. Oakland, they had a great regular season, very good team. Same with Valparaiso, two really good teams there. But they didn't even make it to the semifinals of their conference tournament. So they had
Who'd they lose to?
Valpo lost to UWM, and Oakland lost to Youngstown State. Go Panthers. Anyways, it kind of ruins it for these top seeds. Monmouth, they've been great team for the last 2 years. You remember the 3-point mafia, they would celebrate, have these great dances. They were a really good basketball team, not just because of their dancing, but they weren't dancing in March. They lost in their conference tournament twice in a row. As Christian said, they lost the MAC to, this year was Iona. But that doesn't really take away, in my opinion, the excitement. So they win the regular season, and then they get that auto bid from there. They don't get any coverage on ESPN.
None.
No one sees them play basketball without these conference tournaments. I don't pay attention as much in these first 2 weeks of March if it's not for these conference tournaments. We don't get to have more picks without these conference tournaments. I just think it is such a fun time for college basketball. Survival of the fittest. Just survive in advance. That's all you need to do, and if you can't do that, you shouldn't be in the NCAA tournament.
Jimmy V, survive in advance.
There you go.
Very good. I agree with you. I tend to agree with you that the conference tournament, this championship week, is just absolutely fun. It is God, I don't even know what to compare it to. It's fun. And my regular job next week, Friday, the first Friday of the tournament, I have off. So I'm so looking forward to the NCAA tournament. So before I get to my Road Rage segment, let's take a look at some of the comments we have on Facebook. Travis says, Dr. Dog is the best. Dr. Dog, a local establishment here, and it is pretty good, actually. It's not too bad. They got some good Chicago-style hot dogs. Kenny said, go with these.
Yep, that's
Kenny?
me.
Get it, boy.
High school friend. We played
Nice.
high school baseball together.
Absolutely.
My favorite memory of Kenny is him getting ejected because of me from a game.
Nice.
You're not allowed to wear necklaces, and I had a necklace. And so they told me to take it off, and they warned the team. And it didn't quite make it to Kenny. He wore a necklace up to bat and promptly got ejected.
Mackenzie
Yep.
says, go Leafs.
Yep.
So.
We played college baseball together. He's
Nice.
from Oshawa, Ontario.
Yeah.
Canada.
Speaking of Canada, no, I'm not going to talk about Canada, but my Road Rage segment. I talked to you about this last segment. We were talking about the NFL Scouting Combine, and is the Scouting Combine a true test of a person's abilities and how he will perform in the NFL? Absolutely not. While it may be able to provide some physical and psychological profiling, it's all subjective. There have been a bunch of cases where the Combine has proven to be costly to some and financially fruitful to others, but based on what? How fast they can run? How many times you can bench 225? Sure, the physical aspects are alluring. You know, watching John Ross hit 4.22 in the 40, watching Isaac Asiata bench 35 times, and watching and talking about how this can translate into an NFL career is fun to talk about. But how will John Ross do in the NFL? That's still up in the air. That's still debatable, and only time will tell. However, let's take a look at my top 5 list of players where running a fast 40 or repping out 225 a ton of times didn't help the player make the NFL. Bruce Campbell, offensive lineman out of Maryland, 6'7", 314, a beast. Everybody thought surefire top 10 pick. Ran a 4.75 40, benched 34 reps. Projected to be a top 10 pick. Wasn't picked till the 4th round. 4 teams in 5 years, and now he's playing in Canada. Darius Hayward-Bay, sure, NFL prospect. Ran a 4.3 40, picked by Al Davis of Oakland because Al Davis thinks speed kills. Okay? Couldn't catch a cold. Still can't. I don't think he's any good. He was taken 7th overall by Oakland, 7 years in the league, 3 teams. Still not up to par as far as where he needs to be. Think about this guy, number 3, Matt Jones. Matt Jones was a quarterback at Arkansas. He changed positions to up his draft status in the NFL. He got picked as a wide receiver. He ran a 4.37 40, had a vertical of 39.5 inches, played 4 years, 2 drug arrests, and now he's out of the league. Number 2, Tim Tebow. All the hype in the world. Combine stats were outstanding. 4.7 40, 38-inch vertical. Heisman finalist twice, considered maybe the best college quarterback ever. Now what's he doing? Striking out twice with the Mets.
Double play. He ran into a double play.
Ran into a double play as well. And my number one combine bust, Mike Mamula. Some of you might not know that name. Look him up. 1995. He's a perfect example of combine hype. He benched 28 reps, ran a 4.58 40 as a linebacker out of Boston College, but he specifically trained for those combine reps. Okay, that didn't keep the Eagles from trading the 3 draft picks to Tampa Bay to move up 5 spots to get him. Lackluster career at best. And by the way, guess who Tampa took with the number 12 pick? Warren Sapp. For those 5 players that did poorly in the combine but went on to have great careers, number 5, Joe Hayden, cornerback for what is now Cleveland. He is going to be a free agent next year, but he ran an initial 4.5 240. Ran a 4.34 shuttle, which was second slowest among cornerbacks. Okay. He was drafted 7th by the Browns and considered one of the best cover corners in the league. Had a very lackluster performance at the combine. Number 4, Anquan Bolden. 4.7 40, 33.5-inch vertical. He was deemed too slow. He was drafted 54th by the Arizona Cardinals and won Rookie of the Year, won a Super Bowl with the Ravens, 3-time Pro Bowler. He's in the league 14 years and is now with Detroit. Number 3, Calais Campbell. 6'8", 282. Everybody thinks, oh, this guy's going to be huge. He's runs a 4.85 40, benches 16 reps. That's it. He was drafted 50th by Arizona. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. He's actually been pretty good. Number 2, Terrell Suggs. Some of you might not know this, but Terrell Suggs was deemed as maybe not as good as people thought he was going to be because he ran a 4.8 40, 19 reps. They thought he was a little weak. Drafted 10th overall despite that. He's a Super Bowl champion with the Ravens, 6-time Pro Bowler, 1st-team All-Pro, 2nd-team All-Pro, NFL Defensive Player of the Year, and Defensive Rookie of the Year. And, of course, we have to go to the videotape for my number 1. Let's roll this videotape. You guys should all remember this. Who is that running in his khaki shorts and his and his T-shirt? Which he still has, by the way, but Tom Brady. Tom Brady ran a 5.28 40, slower than most offensive tackles. 24.5-inch vertical, second lowest among QBs. Scored a 33 out of 50 on the Wonderlic test, which was the second highest in his draft class. But he was drafted 199th overall, as everybody knows. 6th round by Michigan, out of Michigan. Started in place of Drew Bledsoe, and the stat line is just phenomenal. You can start out by a 5-time champion, 4-time Super Bowl champion. The list goes on and on. The biggest problem I have with people judging others by the combine numbers is the combine can't measure 2 things. Okay? Number 1, it can't measure competitive drive. You may have a player talk to teams, and he may say, yeah, I want to win at all costs. I'm all about the team. I want us to win championships, but those are merely words. You got to look at the body of work, not just the combine numbers. Tom Brady was one of the best competitors and quarterbacks Michigan has ever seen, 20-5 in 2 years, and relieving a bona fide number 1 prospect in Drew Henson, not to mention he's the 3rd all-time leading passer in school history. And he faced constant top 25 opponents when he was at Michigan. His coaches consistently talk about how he was driven to be the best even back in college. There's no way to measure that at the combine. And finally, the second one is heart. The combine can't measure how hard a player will push themselves in the weight room, in film study, on the practice field, or to get better. They may have had an off day that, that shouldn't be the end. They may have had an off day at the combine. That shouldn't be the end all be all of their draft status. I get it, though. Numbers are what drives analytics and what, we have to determine a person's place based on those numbers. But for teams that base combine work on who they draft and where they draft, these numbers will determine it, and who define a player by who he is based on these numbers, they're crazy. And Cleveland, I'm looking at you. Yeah. So that's my rant. That's my road rage. So if you guys have some things that you want to talk about as far as a road rage segment, please feel free to Facebook us or comment on anything that comes up on your mind. One last thing that we want to. And no, I'm sorry, Aaron, we are not running the 40.
I'll run the 40.
I will not run the 40. I ran the 40. I ran the 40 in high school, and I still ran a 5.05.
Not only will I run the 40, I'll get the best time in the 40.
I'm sure you would, too. That's a challenge to Baxter. All right. We do want to end our segment with a feel-good story. And if you have a feel-good story, please comment. Please Facebook us and tell us a story that you would like. Comment and share on Facebook. But, Ryan, what is our slowing down segment? What is our feel-good story
I think we got a good one this week. It's out of the college baseball world. San Diego State Aztec, Chad Bible. He, out of high school, went to Cal State Fullerton, wasn't a good match, transferred out, went to college with the Canyons, now back at San Diego State, good Division I program. But on January 10th, his life kind of took a left turn. He was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Now, upcoming baseball season, what are you going to do? Well, he did the only thing he thought he could do, and that was to continue to play baseball. He's played baseball his entire life. Out of the hospital, being born, his dad gave him a baseball. And now, through chemotherapy treatments, he is still going to suit up for the Aztecs and continue to play baseball. And that is an ultimate feat of strength there. So, Mr. Chad Bible, we salute you all the way from Milwaukee here to continue to play. And he listed James Conner and Eric Berry as kind of his role models because they've gone through similar things. James Conner, Pitt running back, Eric Berry, the defensive back.
Now the highest paid safety in the NFL.
They've both gone through it. They've both played, and I don't see any reason why Chad Bible doesn't see any reason why he can't do it either.
All right, that is our slowing down segment. Just a reminder, visit BrewSportsNet.com, at BrewSportsNet on Twitter, hashtag BrewSports to follow us. Coming up next on Brew Sports, we have the morning show tomorrow. That will be with Baxter and Jamie. I don't know why I said Ryan, because he's sitting right next to me. I'm sorry about that, Baxter. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Remember to go to our YouTube channel to see any videos that you may have missed. Our Facebook page also has that. Invite your friends to like Brew Sports. I know I invited my friends, and a lot of them are watching, and a lot of them have commented, so thank you very much for that. College Road Trip. We are a weekly show, and it's too long in between shows, I think, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you some bracketology next week as we have Selection Sunday coming up. So we will we'll talk about that next week and a couple other things. Of course, our Road Rage segment will be fast and furious at the end as well. But Ryan, it's going to be an interesting weekend this weekend.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm going to watch Southeast Louisiana and Lamar tonight. And who are they?
Cardinals are Lamar.
Okay.
Lions of Southeast Louisiana.
Unbelievable, folks. And this
Easy.
guy, I mean, he is just unbelievable.
I'm watching Bucknell Lehigh.
Bucknell Lehigh out of the Patriots.
Patriot League Championship.
All right.
Ticket.
Punch your ticket. We will talk to you next week. My thanks to Ryan Thies, my co-host, of course, Baxter Colburn, and everybody behind the scenes here at Brew Sports. We will talk to you next week. And we say goodnight. Make sure you turn in tomorrow for our morning show with Baxter and Jamie. Good night, everybody.